Hello, I'm not worthy, but please can I help because I like what you're doing.
But there's also a responsibility and a pressure to do right by your community.
It's been more on the negative side, the term nerd.
You know, I know you know.
I'm going to keep this in the edit.
Oh my god, what nerds, Michelle.
Oh yeah, I forgot my other favorite TTRPG moment is listening to the Infinite Tavern, obviously.
Hello. That was an extra hello from the usual hellos. Welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Tavern podcast. As Aida just gets kicked off. I don't know why.
We just say welcome and Ida says bye. And Michelle says bye.
What's happening?
Kicked.
It was not me.
Amaan?
It wasn't me.
Double fed. Triple fed. I get to invite my family and all my friends.
Amaan says welcome and both of you are kicked out.
Yes.
It was the extra
You know
hello.
what? It was the extra hello. You know what? For consistency's sake, for this time, I'm going to keep this in the edit. Let the people see that, hey, Wave Room, fix yourself. Skill issue.
Wave Room, fix yourself. Give these people a free subscription. Give them refunds. Give them compensation.
It is free.
It is free.
Then they should send you money to apologize.
Yeah, I mean they don't have a paid tier. Everything is free.
Interesting.
Well, good
they
on
should
you.
Be paying you they should be paying you for bug testing.
They should.
Yep,
Absolutely. That they need to. But apologies for the chaotic start, everyone. But we are here with the 5th episode of our new season with the letter E, because this is going to be an excellent episode where we are going to be talking to two wonderful people from a certain organization. But before that, you just know one thing that is the truth, is that Amaan HK at Amaan HK on Blue Sky and all other social platforms is the best host, or the best host of this podcast. And you should recognize that. Right, Anurag? Yeah. Now that's fixed in the ether, that's written in stone. But we also have our second favorite host, which is Raghav, as he's known in the common world, and Anurag, as he's known in the D&D world.
Yeah. So, following our another chaotic episode with Dice Cream Sandwich last week, we are back with yet another episode. You could say it is a little bit euphoric, maybe.
It is.
One could say.
See, this is an excellent episode, not because this is the perfect episode, but because we have all of these chaotic moments going on, whether we have our food being delivered, whether we have our guests being kicked off, or whether I am being called to work, or anything like that. That's why it has everything.
This is the reality of making TTRPG content. It's just constant chaos and trying to make something out of the chaos.
And all of our eyes, no matter who you are, if you make any sort of content, digital content, you can just look each other in the eyes and you've seen the tech gremlins. You've had the online issues. You've had the scheduling. And they're just like dead fish look we can all see each other with, shake hands and hug, and you're like, yes. I know you're a TTRPG creator. I see it in your soul.
I see the pain.
And you know why it's becoming even more chaotic? Because we are 5-6 minutes into the episode and I haven't even introduced who you guys are. So with that, please, everybody, the family of Infinite Tavern, please welcome EUphoria APs. Hello guys, how are you doing?
Hi!
I mean,
Hello.
I mean, I don't know why I'm saying hi after we've been talking for the past 15 minutes, but that's the magic of editing, I guess, which I don't think I have the energy to do right now, but I'll find a way, I'm sure. You as producers know how it is. especially with tech involved, since you guys are in Europe and coordinating with people from all of these different time zones as well, not just in Europe, but across the planet as well. So, yeah, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, Michelle and Aida, I mean, this is a very common question we ask everyone, which is not simply like, hey, how did you come up with EUphoria APs? I mean, we'll get to that eventually as well. Our like core question is, what was the start of your journey with TTRPGs? Where was that inception? Where did that inception took place? How did that journey begin for both of you now that you guys are here?
So for me, actual plays was what got me interested in TTRPGs.
Oh.
I was listening to actual play podcasts, and I didn't know much about TTRPGs beyond Dungeons and Dragons, which is where most people have heard of it before, right? But I started to listen to different podcasts and get introduced to different games, and I started to think, I like this. This seems like fun. I want to have a go. And I made some friends in life who were D&D players. So I said, can I have a go at the game? And from there, I realized, okay, maybe Dungeons and Dragons isn't the one that's right for me, but because of actual play, I know there's more out there. So I started looking and seeking out more games and more people to play with. But to me, it always comes back to my love of combining gaming with performing and creating characters and creating worlds. So that's why I kind of got interested in working with EUphoria in producing and creating lots of actual play content, because it's what introduced me to the hobby, and I want to introduce more people to it.
Oh, you were just like a machine gun. Da, 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 da. This is a history lesson. Just a quick
yeah, I was
one.
like, you want the history? Go.
So
that's the short version of me talking. Aida knows I talk a lot.
I want to hear it. That's why I'm like, Michelle, go first.
Yeah. So what did you start listening to when in the podcast? Or actually, how did you discover actual play podcasts?
I think the first one is loads of people, like English-speaking people's first one, which was The Adventure Zone, which is made by these three American brothers who were kind of like learning D&D on the podcast. So they were coming in being like, we don't really know what we're doing. We're going to try and figure it out and make like a funny podcast. And that kind of was nice and like accessible to me. I was like, I don't know this, but maybe this will help me learn. And then from there, I found some others. A personal favorite is called The Magpies. It's finished now, but it was a podcast playing Blades in the Dark, which ended up being my favorite game. So yeah,
nice.
that was kind of what started it from podcasts. But then I found out, oh, there's people doing it on YouTube and Twitch as well. There's a whole world here. How exciting.
So I would assume, like at least in the UK where you're from, like people are more into aren't they more into Warhammer rather than TTRPGs, or is that a stereotype?
That's definitely popular here too. My brother is a big Warhammer fan, so I also know lots of people who play that. No. But I never got into that. I think I don't have the spatial reasoning to deal with the tiny figures. I just like to imagine it all in my brain.
And the cost of it.
But
oh my god!
You know about Warhammer, right? You've played Warhammer TTRPG stuff at least.
Only once, and I'm only very marginally familiar with that universe. But Games Workshop, which is a UK company, is prevalent here in the Netherlands as well. So it does have a bit of an audience too. Because there's physical stores here and the country is small, plus the community is a bit more tied in. You see it a bit more.
The lore of Warhammer is so extensive, though. I've seen so many videos on YouTube about the
Horus Heresy.
So there's so much to follow. I'm like scared to just jump into Warhammer at this point.
What I've heard from someone is you can be into just one aspect of Warhammer and that's all you need. You can be
that's
into
where I'm at.
Like you can just be into like painting minis, or you can just be into like literal wargaming, or you can be into the novels or the TTRPGs or the video games. And there is so much out there that's all you need. You don't need to go into like the everything.
I'm into the badass battle nuns called the Sororitas. That's my opening. I'm on the porch of the mansion of the castle that is Warhammer Gaming 40K. That's where I started. But to go back to the original question, how I started listening to TTRPGs, I played RPGs for many years, like Japanese RPGs, Final Fantasy, a lot of Square Enix games back in the day. And I really liked that sort of storytelling flow. And then I got to understand at least Dungeons and Dragons through popular media. I saw it in Stranger Things. I saw it mentioned in Big Bang, the TV show, for example. Harmon's Quest, very briefly. And I was working, and one person had the courage to say, "Hey, I'm a dungeon master," and I cataloged the information away. And then some time later, I was like, "Hey, so I heard you're a DM, right? Could you run a campaign? And can I get some people?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then that turned into at my house over 3 years. Then the pandemic hit. 60 sessions, we killed God.
It's got to be done.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed not just the story telling part of it and the adventuring and the camaraderie, but I was that person that really liked seeing the effort that went underneath the hood. So while someone is telling a story, while someone is managing the mechanics, because of the way my brain is wired, I really enjoy tracking initiative. I made the spreadsheets for the bag of holding. I made the conspiracy board with literal yarn and pushpins. And when I found about actual plays, was like, oh, I can express my love for TTRPGs in another way, but continue doing the all the tasks underneath it that I really love seeing for the final polished product.
Amazing. And how did you guys actually get associated with Euphoria APs? Like Michelle, you told me about how you got in part of it, but what about you, Aida?
I helped found it. I'm one of the co-founders of EUphoria with our very good friend Darcy, JC.
And
Darcy,
that's something I absolutely knew.
Yeah, right.
Of course you knew. I'm just sharing it for the audience who may not be aware. So that's why we're here. We're being accessible with the information. JC, Darcy, and myself, and people like Michelle, who I've known from other servers as well and other communities, we've all sort of been in the TTRPG actual play scene, at least locally, mostly because I think safe to say we all love APs, but we didn't love being awake at 1, 2, 3 in the morning starting time to connect with people, to play with people, to find communities of people where they say good morning and it's the middle of the late afternoon for you and you feel a bit isolated. And ultimately, Darcy and I, you know, I know you know, it's a thing. And Darcy and I were saying how important it was not just to have these communities that are local, regionally local, because they do exist. EUphoria is not the first or only one. But we noticed that it was unusual to see communities that were very specifically loud about this particular identity of being European based and being very dedicated to to values of inclusivity and diversity, not just in cast, but in games themselves, not just exclusively Dungeons and Dragons, which is great. A lot of us started from that, but there's more. There's so much more. And that's where EUphoria started from. We took our collective experience, what we liked from communities, what we didn't want to do for ourselves. We floundered for a bit, very graciously. And then for some reason, the ridiculously kind and talented Michelle was like, I want to be a part of this even at the back end. And then TLDR, we were mostly on our knees bowing. We are not worthy. Yet there she is.
I was like, hello, I'm not worthy, but please can I help because I like what you're doing. So I think we were all just pointing at each other and saying we are not worthy. So...
We are worthy, I will say, because Aida Brain says otherwise, but Aida Heart knows. We are, all of us in this call, all of us listening, we are worthy and we deserve to have local communities that understand us at a more fundamental identity, not just, they're cool, we love them, but not just people on the west coast of the US.
Oh, yeah. Like my first games that I ever played were on, I think, at EST or Central Time.
Yep.
And that was like, I had to wake up like 4 o'clock in the morning and
no friend.
Just groggy and just barely able to on my laptop. I was like, hey, hi guys. Yeah, what should I roll? A D20? Okay. Yeah, so it was just like me.
I did run a few games at that point. Like, I started playing on Start Play. Like, I just running a few paid games on Start Playing games, and yeah, I had to stay. I couldn't wake up at 5:30, so I just had to stay awake the whole night just to run that game and
Friends.
then sleep.
No.
Oh my goodness. But that's the thing. Like we know that there are TTRPG nerds, fans, creators, lovers, designers, etc. We know that they're in Europe. We know that they're in India. We know that they're in Latin America. We know that they're in Southeast Asia. We know that they're in the Pacific zone. It's challenging because a lot of people seem to default English speaking to the US, and that's not entirely accurate. And I also recognize for privacy reasons, not everyone is shouting or putting their tags on, oh, I'm from this country and I also speak this language. Or I am also particularly looking for communities that are queer. I'm particularly looking for communities that are POC. So the self identification is sometimes a bit challenging. All the more reason why it's important to ferment and solidify your local communities before you. I think it's more a cozier and safer place than waking up at 4 a.m. and be like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
what's this?
absolutely. Yeah, and like especially in India as well, we are getting to have like more and more of these at least meetups every weekend where people can gather and come and play TTRPGs. It's mostly D&D because that's like the lowest hanging fruit. That's
Yeah.
the most common one that everybody can. They have at least some point of preference, whether it's through movies, whether it's through TV shows. So there are like at least in 5 to 6 cities, there are almost like regular meetups of in a cafe or in where you have like meetups of shout out to a roller dice Gorica. They run this organization. They're running it just because they love D&D, and they managed to make like a network of DMs and everybody who gather in certain cities every weekend and may run games for people who are
That's fantastic.
interested in checking out D&D.
Almost five games are run every Saturday across at least 4 different cities all over India,
That's
just because of them.
fantastic. That
Yeah, at
logistical
least.
props. Holy moly.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's organizational goals, honestly. I love that. That's so lovely.
They started like they just did all initially. They were just doing everything by themselves, and they were saying, oh, somebody please help me, can you do this, can you do that, and they were literally traveling from city to city to organize it.
Wow.
And
Taking time of their own from their own life. But now they do have like interns who are helping them with it, whether it is through getting resources, getting prints done, etc. So I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm so glad this is happening or happening at a
Yeah.
much larger scale
Absolutely.
than it
And we can
was.
absolutely appreciate also that I think on paper, especially when someone says, why don't you just insert anything what someone should just do? Not everyone appreciates the amount of organizational support, the amount of labor it takes to be that sort of, I hate using the word because it applies to me, leader in those things. It does take a lot of resources, not just financial ones, not just emotional ones as well. But there's also a responsibility and a pressure to do right by your community,
Yeah.
balancing with your own capacities as well. And we all want to do right by ourselves and by our community. But it's hard. And I really laud people who go out of the way and say, I'm going to take a stab with the best intentions and work until it's going to be right. And those that especially take lessons and like, hey, I could have improved here. I'm going to improve next time.
I really
someone
agree with that. Yeah, it's not just having the organizational superpowers to make it happen, but also being willing to put yourself out there and maybe do something imperfectly and say, well, if it doesn't work this time, I'll learn and make it better next time. I think it's always impressive when people take that first step.
Yeah, and as someone who actually had a very hard time finding players in India to play D&D, at least for the home games, it's astonishing to see the number of players who are coming in each and every week. So
Yeah.
because just last week we had 6 players and 4 spectators, they just came in to see how the game is played. and they're
Nice.
interested to play the next time.
So they were always there, and like we have the challenges here in Europe and the UK, they're there. But then we have to ask ourselves, maybe all of us in this call, why couldn't we make that connection earlier? Was it a lack of knowledge? Were we not on the same platforms? What is hindering the connection? Because we do exist. They were clearly out there. They didn't start that day.
Yeah.
Solving world peace is the next topic.
So first of all, borders. Let's just get rid of them. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked at the moment.
Schengen.
Yeah, tick. We've solved that problem. No borders.
We solved that
Bye.
problem. Yeah, no borders.
Next problem.
Yeah.
Digitally, at least, we mostly solved them. It helps that a lot of
mostly.
us can have a common language. I think that's another really big barrier as well.
Yeah. I mean, it took a lot of wrong things. I mean, like, it took a lot of colonization for that to happen. I wish it could have happened in a different way, but
Yeah.
here we are.
It's like, I love the common language, don't love how we got there. If
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, shit happens. That's fine. That's
I think that was actually how colonialism is covered in British schools, is they just shrug and go, shit happens anyway.
Oh,
But especially in TTRPGs these days, I'm specifically loving some of the games that are coming out there, which are taking a like anti and non-colonial stance towards gaming and towards game design and towards story design and world building. Specifically, one which you guys just did an actual play for, which was Mappa Mundi, because we had George and Jeremy on the podcast. They in fact closed our previous season, and they were like, "You're gonna see something. We have we're working with a few people to produce the actual plays." Like, their envisioning of the world, like an alternate world, like an anti-colonial stance to the world. It was so good to see. World building is not just about kingdoms going after one other kingdoms and trying to get all the resources and everything, because enough of that is happening in the real world.
Yeah, we love Mappa Mundi. We had so much fun that we're going to do another AP of it. So that's little exclusive.
You heard it here first.
You did. It's
Kind
coming
of.
up, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it's wonderful how they modeled not only, as you said, like the anti-colonialist kind of perspective within the game, but also they worked a lot with sensitivity consultants. They spoke to people from the different cultures they were creating fantasy versions of to make sure, yes, we're making a fictional world, but it's always going to be based in some part on real life. So let's make sure we're basing it on true and honest depictions and not stereotypes. And I just think it's wonderful they're doing that work. And the fact they did it shows it can be done. It can be done right, so everyone else can do it too. Which
that is absolutely, that was... I can't wait to see more regions of Mappa Mundi because of this really important legwork that has been done from the beginning. It's been done responsible. It's modeled that the bar is not in hell.
Yes. Yes, because they're raising it.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think why some people, or rather few people, are not able to cross that barrier of getting into TTRPGs is because, at least this is just my personal opinion, that a lot of it is on Discord, at least the online spaces, and that's kind of another platform that they have to get into, that's kind of stopping them. Because because even for the longest time, I wasn't able to find people on, people to play with. It took like almost an year of finding for some, which led me to Discord eventually. Like, with a lot of the people whom I talk to, especially who are just getting into D&D, I talk to them about Discord and they're like, what's Discord?
Yeah, I feel you there. I think a lot of people still don't know about it. So it can be hard to introduce it because it's like, what, I have to learn another platform? And also, I have much respect for Discord. Euphoria has our own Discord server, and I love it there. But it is not very intuitive to learn how to use Discord.
It's not.
How to use it properly.
The word Discord is not a positive thing.
No.
Like etymology.
It's in the word.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
That's what I feel trying to use it. Yeah.
But I don't think it's just exclusive to Discord. I think it's just a lot of these TTRPG communities in and of themselves are very insular, and it's hard to cross from ecosystem to ecosystem. I know there's a really big ecosystem of TTRPGs on Facebook, which I will never touch because ew. As of recording now, I'm actually going to be heading to a very Dutch TTRPG convention called World Initiative Con, and I've been there before. It's their third year now, and I was talking to some people on the food line for a truck, asking like, "How did you get into TTRPGs? Where are you playing mostly?" And they said, "Oh, I only ever play at my game store." "Oh, are you on Instagram or Discord or Twitter about it?" Like, no. Like, do you engage with anyone in the digital sphere about TTRPGs? Like, no. I only go to my game store and I only interact with the books and the people that are physically there. I've never hashtagged. I've never. What's Critical Role? What is this AI spot? What is this AI talk about Wizards of the Coast? All I know is that they have a new book coming out that I'm going to put on reserve.
That's so surprising to me.
That was last year.
Yeah, like I have very, very rarely played in person. Honestly, even my quote home games with people who I know in person, we still play online because it's so hard to get us together, honestly. So to me, it's like TTRPGs exist in an online world. So it's such a different perspective to meet people who are like, I don't engage with online TTRPG stuff at all.
And by that extension, what are games beyond Dungeons and Dragons? What is Session Zero? What are Lines and Veils? What is AP?
Yeah.
And all these things that we take for granted because we're thankful to have the exposure and friends who lead us to the more appropriate paths of that exposure. They don't, and it's not because they're bad people or ignorant, but it's hard to cross from one island to another.
Oh, I completely get that. That's one of the reasons that I want to get into like not proper, but like hardcore board gaming for so long. But I'm only focused on TTRPGs because it's a huge ocean in itself of so many different things which are going on, and I want to cross into another part of the ocean or into another ocean of board gaming. I'm like, let me just hold on. Then I have like another thing. Like I have so many fantasy books over here which I need to read and complete. It's not like I'm going to become a booktuber or anything, but I'm like, I want to read so many fantasy books which people are constantly talking about, which booktubers are talking about, which is specifically dedicated to fantasy books. I'm like, I don't have enough hours in the day.
Unfortunately.
You don't have to be a booktuber. I say this, and for everyone listening, as somebody who is so bad for monetizing my hobbies, do something that's not for content before you go insane. Please have a hobby that's not for content. You need one in your life. I crochet, and I will never sell any of my crochet stuff, and I will never make content about it. This is my promise that I will probably break.
It's good you said that. You probably will break because I mean,
probably
we do sometimes out there just because we want. It's fine to do that. I mean, like, hey, I do this kind of thing. Isn't it fun? It's fine. I don't make like content regarding books. I sometimes talk about them, but I think I'm just going to keep it to that. I just want people to see, hey, I like these kind of things too, and I think that's just going to be about it. Just as the conversation
wise. I think you are very wise, Amaan, for that.
Yeah, and it's right for you to want to find other people to nerd out about those things too, and then you gotta go and find the community and learn about the other doodad. I'm talking like a boomer. You have to go into TikTok or something, and my millennial ass just can't.
I can't with TikTok.
It's been so long since I've heard the term doodad.
Yeah. That's where a huge TTRPG community is. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are on about it.
Same with me. I the only books that I've talked about even on this podcast is Lord of the Rings, and that's about it. I don't think I've even mentioned another book.
Dude, you talk about House in the Cerulean Sea and Necronomicon.
Oh yeah, that one. And the Necronomicon. Yep. Yeah. Now that you're saying it, yeah.
And the book with the afterlife. Oh, sorry, was it the House in the Cerulean Sea itself?
That was once, dude. That was once.
Okay, I'm writing these down, and I look forward to your new book podcast coming out next month.
What was the Afterlife
No,
one?
the Midnight Library,
The Midnight Library. Yeah, you've talked about them too. So,
and that
uh,
won't be even coming out for quite a while.
Oh my God, what nerds, Michelle.
Oh my god, I would never be a
Thank
nerd.
you,
I can't
thank
imagine what
you.
being a nerd
What
is
is being
like.
a nerd like?
No, I'm not a nerd.
I mean, like, what am
Like,
I reading at the moment? I just finished like book 4 of the Stormlight Archive. I'm holding off until reading book 5 because I'm like, that's too much, dedication that's required of me, or that's too much. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a break from hardcore fantasy. I'm gonna read something light, like I'm gonna read this more days at the Morisaki bookshop, which is just about like a girl who gets laid off and just spends time in her uncle's secondhand bookstore.
Have you read the first book though?
This is the first book. Oh yeah, first book.
No,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've read the first book. Yeah.
because I
that looks
have both
pretty
the books. I
nice.
love them.
Yeah, they're so cozy. I mean, like you
I
have to
expect
have.
the list of your top 10 reads for the summer, for the upcoming months soon.
Yeah, I'm starting to think you should be a booktuber. I'm taking back what I said before. This is great. I've been reading a lot of Terry Pratchett recently, which is a very like
I
light,
have
accessible
I
fantasy,
have
and it's
two
very
shelves.
joyful for me.
These two shelves are filled with Terry Pratchett books. This shelf and this shelf is just Terry Pratchett.
Wow. I love it. I came late to Terry Pratchett. I only started reading his stuff last year,
Same,
and everyone who
same.
talks about them was right. They are fantastic. I see why
I
everyone
know,
loves them.
right? I know, right? Wow, yeah, such nerds we are. Nice. I like it.
Oh no, I gave it away, Ida, that I'm a nerd too. Oh no.
Oh no, we've been seen.
You've been had. Oh man.
That's the thing about the nerd for quite a long time. Even I don't know about other countries, but in India, it's been seen as it's been more on the negative side, the term nerd, until very
Mostly
recently
still.
when people yeah, mostly still, yeah, exactly. It's only like in a few communities that the term nerd has been moving to the positive side right now.
I think
Cringe
there
is
was
dead.
kind of a shift. Yeah, definitely. I think there's been a shift, especially like at least in the UK. That's all I can speak for. Of around that time that like Marvel movies
I
and all
was
of
gonna
that
say
stuff got
Marvel.
big. Yeah, people started to see being a geek or a nerd as more like mainstream and less of an insult. So I feel like nowadays it's not so much. At least I don't know. Maybe teenagers. I don't speak to young people. I don't know anyone who's young. Maybe teenagers still think it's an insult, but most adults I know, millennials, are like, yeah, I'm a geek and I mean that lovingly. So
Yeah, I think with our vocabulary and our insights changing, especially language about safe communities and honoring who you really are, it's been more accepted. We have people, at least I can quote American or Western media who are really out and proud nerds. Stephen Colbert is like a huge Tolkien nerd. He's a talk show host in the US, did a parody show for many years.
Yeah.
No secret about that. Henry Cavill, who was Superman,
I
ginormous
love
nerd,
that
Geralt
guy.
of Rivia. And I think everyone, no matter what your sexuality, loves that man.
yeah, that's
and,
so true.
and a big chunk of it is not just because, excuse me if I'm respectfully thirsting a bit, but also the really openness about this is my hobby. I find joy in it. Come to me to find, let's share in this joy. Let's not divide. Please, let's paint minis together. Let's have a campaign on this side.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, cringe is dead. Let's just
Yeah.
enjoy ourselves and not worry about judging it. Like, let's have fun.
Aman, we need to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. I'll be sure
Please.
to mail.
Yes.
I'll be sure to mail him. Doesn't he have like a Warhammer
Henry
40K thing
Cavill,
in the
collab
works?
with us.
Yes, he does.
Oh.
Yeah. So you know what, Ida, we might bring you on to when we have Henry Cavill pretty co-producing our show. So yeah,
Yes.
look out for that email.
I absolutely will.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like Henry Cavill, who could have been easily like the most idol for the jocks, is like the idol
Yeah.
for the nerds. I mean,
Yeah. There's that compassion
Complete-
side about it. Even Critical Role, for example, Travis Willingham. Yeah.
Travis.
Who,
Yeah.
who also kind of espoused the idea of, yeah, we may be physicality, you might judge us, you might think that we're one way or another, but no, we're actually fantasy loving theater kids, and we happen to really like working out, and we care about the gains. It really taught us to not judge based on people's appearances or what they present themselves outwards to be. No, we're just all raging nerds inside, and that's why we're all friends.
I'm still waiting for Warhammer, Henry Cavill's Warhammer. I just want to see how he looks like, what he looks like in that, because I loved him as Geralt. I'm still disappointed that they just ruined the show.
That's a separate episode.
That's an entire episode.
I'm happy to join.
I'm just happy that I'm happy that they're not trying to forceful. I'm happy that Henry Cavill is not forcefully doing Witcher and being unhappy with the product. I'm happy for that. I'm like, okay, let's just move on from that. I have my own Wheel of Time shit. I'm happy with where Wheel of Time is. I don't need Henry Cavill to come in there as well. So, yeah, like let him do his Warhammer thing and hope it's a success. Another one of the other things that I wanted to speak to you about is, I mean, sure, everybody says that you don't have like a favorite child or anything, but what is your guys' favorite AP that you have produced?
I think we're biased, but those answers are accurate, Michelle. I think we each have our answers that are biased, but they are also objectively true and factual.
Yeah, I mean, my very biased answer is, of course, the one that I GM'd. Of course, it's my favorite, which was Blades in the Dark 4-part AP called Ballad of the Silver Spectres. It's my favorite system, Blades in the Dark. It's brought me great joy to share it. It brought me great joy to share it on the channel, and I had 3 incredible cast members who are called Cash and Gask and Sakaya, and they are some of the best role players out there in Europe, and they told such an amazing story with me. So that's definitely my favorite, but I love all my children equally, but I just love that one the most equally.
She's not wrong. It is a fantastic game. I had the pleasure of doing a remastered version, which hopefully we're going to be spreading about in the world a bit more, so that can be seen by everyone who needs to see it. As for me, my favorite child of all the children, and I am one of the producers, mostly at EUphoria. I'm the person in the back end, herding the cats, doing the recording, doing the live streaming, doing the post edits, running the session zeros. But of all those games, my bias is the one I happened to be in, which was a very last minute thing. I wasn't planned to be at the table, but someone dropped that and were like, I can jump in. It was a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition game called 3 City Revamp. And what's particularly special about this game is that it is set in this very hyper-local region in Europe. Here in the Netherlands, there's a region that is bordered with Germany and Belgium. So it's called the tri-border area.
Yeah.
And we decided, collectively, myself and the GM, that we are going to have players that speak Dutch, German, and French during the AP, and we will have regional representation and language representation at this table. So we played this game in this hyper-specific region where the GM and most of us have an awareness of what these places are. It's like Night by New York or Night by LA or whatever, but Night here. And we sort of interlaced the game with those respective languages. So I got to be a vampire and speak Dutch occasionally. Someone got to be a vampire and speak German or French, etc. And that was just a fantastic game to prove that we don't have to necessarily focus on just these big cities. Also, this table was femme, queer. We were all immigrants or first generation. And we won the first prize of the Cusco Webfest for Best AP Video of the Year, and the GM won Best GM for Video AP as well. So a little validation felt amazing because so much work was put into it, and I think it's a story that elevates what European tables ought to be, much like Silver Spectres at Michelle's game. Those are European tables. They are women, they are brown people, they are immigrant, they are queer, they are neurodivergent. Those are European tables.
Yeah, and it's really important to us that our tables represent that diversity. We don't want to have one token person of color, or even worse, no people of color at our tables, because Aida and I have been that one person at the table,
For
and we know
years.
it's because Europe, it's just statistically, there are a lot more white people, but that means you have to make sure to include the people who are marginalized. And yeah, it's important as well for queer representation, disabled representation, all of these things, that we find casts who reflect the diversity of Europe, because the picture of Europe as just looking like one type of person isn't accurate. So I totally agree. Like, a 3-city revamp, such a good show. And as someone who speaks no Dutch, German, or French, completely accessible for English speakers.
Yes.
And
Captions.
also, yes, and also Silver Spectres, we tried as well to be so representative of the different types of people who live throughout Europe in the show.
And I think that was one of at least my goals, as well as I'm like God Killer Kismet, the actual play that I'm producing at the moment as it's going on. I don't know if it'll be out by the time this episode is out, but one of the goals for me was, when I was writing the story itself, that I wanted it to be multilingual, and I wanted it to be representative of, like, at least 4 areas of the world, or like at least 4, like it should be across the world, because I'm talking about a universal story about breaking out from the ideology that you have been taught, and breaking free from, and having and making your own journey, making your own decisions, making your own thoughts. So, and I dedicated like each world to a language, like the world, like, or rather the world where all life generates from. It's Hindi, English, Urdu. It has those languages. So me and the player Assis, we converse in Hindi and English. Then we have a separate world with Adrian and Apollo, actually, and they converse in Spanish. Their whole game is in Spanish. Then we have Arsene, and we have Marie Paul, and their game is in French. And then we have Jack, and we have Spectre, who have a conversation in Mandarin. And then we have a finale, which is completely in English. So we're trying to and each episode is continuing the story, but going in a different world each time. So you're exploring different worlds, as like with the Hindi, Urdu kind of thing is just going through one story, and each episode is like a different language, but you see it from the story from a different perspective with different god killers. And then finally we reach to like the English one, so that everybody who's there can converse to each other essentially. But yeah, so gonna be all captioned in English, so it's accessible to like everyone generally across all spaces. So when you spoke about that, I'm like, I totally get her.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
awesome.
It's awesome. You're doing a marvel. Kick ass, good on you.
That sounds so cool. I'm so invested. It sounds amazing.
And you mentioned names that Michelle and I collectively know, and you got really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so good. They're so good. I've spoken with them like about the world, about lore building, about world building, and they have done such an amazing job. Like, kudos to them. Can't wait for all of you guys to see it.
Yeah.
Excited.
Amazing. Anurag, should we ask our question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
So, we're not asking you like a quadratic equation or anything, so you don't have to worry about it. What we're yeah, it's not a maths question, but it is a question of your favorite memories. And what we're specifically talking about is your memories or your moments in TTRPG. What's something that has been a key moment for you, or something that stood out, something, or that's your favorite? What's been like that one moment you can specify and be like, oh, that feels good?
That's such a good question. I have to think.
Could be so many
Years
moments.
ago, when I listened to other podcasts and they asked questions, because I had an answer in mind, but it's been a long time and my brain has been elsewhere that I don't know that answer anymore. But I used to imagine I would end up on XYZ podcast. Thank you guys. I love you. But, and I had an answer for that back then. What the heck did I think? Holy moly.
Oh no. Michelle, do you want to answer in the meantime?
You never
it's-
preempt your award acceptance speeches.
I know. I never planned them. Speaking into my shampoo bottle, like, thank you so much for this award. Yeah, I've just had so much privilege of being invited to so many different lovely podcasts and shows like over the last few years. It's so hard to pick like a thing because like it's always a joy. It's always a joy. I think like this is such a cop-out answer. I'm not going to give you one thing. I just every time that I get to be in AP, because of course when I play home games, I play with my friends. But when I play in an AP, sometimes I meet someone. I'm in a cast of people I've never played with before. And every time I'm playing with someone I don't know, and we have a really great moment where we go, yes! And what someone does a roleplay moment, and someone comes back with like a yes, and then this. And they do that yes and moment. That is my favorite. That's my shit. Like when you're playing a TTRPG with someone who you don't really know very well, but you're through the characters and the storytelling, you become friends and you're so united in that moment. That's the moments where I'm like, hell yeah, this is a great thing we're doing. And that I have been lucky enough to have many times. So that makes me really happy.
Aww. Okay.
Aida's still thinking.
I'll differentiate a bit. I love being the player or the person at the table that causes everyone to collectively gasp or facepalm. I love breaking other people at the table.
You're so good at it.
I feel I don't have a success, depending on the mood of the game, of course, but I need to have everyone like sort of collectively, what the heck are you doing? But also not disruptive, has to be a buy-in. A particularly notable one I did was a few years ago now. I played a game by Ivris Burke called Drama Llamas. And the game is where we are all llamas. It's a universe where instead of humans, we are llamas. And we are on reality show, like Big Brother or something like that. And my character, my playbook for my llama was this like really innocent, kind-hearted, but easily cries. So I would show up to the game in like really cheap mascara and for the AP with a glass of water, literally throw water on myself on camera and just streak my makeup to get the gasps because of this naive character. I set up for a speech. I forget what it was about, but I ended up eating dice on camera. So everyone's breaking while Aida is stuffing D20s into her mouth on camera.
Oh
and
my
Michelle
God.
is breaking now.
I'm breaking now! This is Aida and I recently played together in an AP of Never Stop Blowing Up for the EUphoria Patreon. It was all staff, so ourselves and JC Darcy and Taylor, who are the other two staff at Euphoria, played it. And I think it was just basically 2 hours of us making each other break through complete chaos.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're so good at it, Aida. you always just like catch me out with your hilarious ideas.
I like to break people, whether it's I will eat dice, I will go the extreme. I think for the same game for the finale, I think I even prepared towels and everything, and I ended up just prepared a glass of water, a big glass, and was prepared just to throw it on my face. All equipment safely in advance aside. I will go the mile to break the table.
So there was one moment, so it's not out yet, so I'm not going to spoil what it was, but I was playing with Rara from Heart is a Dungeon, and he's
Rara's
generally
amazing. We love Rara.
they're generally like very stoic. They're able to be like very stoic and nice and calm and collected. But I did something, or I said just a throwaway line, and I broke them for the next 10 minutes. They couldn't keep a straight face. And the worst part, the worst part of it was I couldn't keep a straight face either for the next 10-15 minutes. I was like, I just looked at him and he just looked at me, and we just like broke, and we were breaking into laughter every 2 minutes because of that one specific thing.
I love when that happens.
So yeah, definitely one of my favorite, like at least breaking someone moments. But yeah, I respect that, Ida. Like, yeah, that is a very good feeling. That is a very nice feeling. Like a collective gasp or a collective break or what the fuck just happened kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes. And I try to make sure that they're breaking things where I did not go up and slap the BBEG, for example, without anyone's above the table permission. That's disruptive and breaking, like the game, and I might break your fun by doing that. I
Yeah.
try to make sure that the punishment is exclusively on me, or it's a bit just for funnies, just for lulz. I'm not going to
Yeah.
Leroy Jenkins and have you facepalm. That's less fun for me. I would find it not as much fun.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, amazing. Those were such good answers. Even though Michelle kind of copped out,
Yeah,
we're gonna
I
forgive her for
did.
that. That's fine. That's fine. It was
Because
still a good
Michelle is a
answer.
genuinely kind, wonderful person.
Oh,
I
thank
hope
you.
I
So
hope
are
this
you.
podcast has. I hope this podcast is also one of her favorites. So that's all I can hope.
Oh yeah, I forgot my other favorite TTRPG moment is listening to the Infinite Tavern, obviously. And being the
Obviously,
Infinite Tavern podcast, obviously.
obviously, amazing. Well, I mean, do you guys have anything other that you want to plug in? Any shows that you have coming up? Anything interesting that you have coming up that you'd like other people to know?
I will simply say you can follow me at Michelle Acopter on Blue Sky, and you should follow EUphoria Actual Plays on your social media of choice. And we always post on our social medias, on Blue Sky, Instagram especially, when there's new actual plays coming out, interviews, panels, and also when we're casting. So we'd love to see you there, or follow us on Twitch or YouTube. There's so many places we exist.
Absolutely
Amazing.
seconded. If this is coming out around May, you might see EUphoria representatives at some conventions. You might see us at the end of May at UKGE, for example, UK Games Expo, if you're in the area, or you might see us later in the year might see us at Dragon Meet, for example. If you're in the Netherlands, it's too late. Unless you have Time Machine. Maybe I saw you this coming weekend at Real Initiative Con. But we're also trying to format these very local communities with us, because there's some sort of community that we know that when we're here in Europe, especially as POC and underrepresented people here in Europe, we're facing particular challenges, particular emotions that are very unique, and we try to support each other. Everyone is welcome at EUphoria. We have people from all around the world who join our APs, and we love them for it. We love that we're not US centric or focused. But if you are particularly based in Europe, in the wider idea of what Europe is or should be, and you want that community that is regionally local to you and time zone local to you, I really encourage you to check out EUphoria, because we want to celebrate all the wonderful things that might make you different, because we think they make you beautiful and they add to the love and story that is TTRPG.
And as for us, we had D, and now it was E. And guess what? The next letter is. I'll leave it up to all of you listeners. And yeah, you can find us on Blue Sky and on YouTube, where you can like, share, or subscribe. Helps us with the algorithm. And yeah, maybe leave us a comment on YouTube, maybe about your favorite TTRPG. Aman will send you a really good plushie. Maybe
Ooh.
he has a plushie of Cthulhu, so maybe he can just send that out. Uh, and yeah,
And
It's very cute.
well, we've been kicked off twice. Maybe that's the compensation I want.
Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, also, depending on the time this is coming out, if the crit awards are open, I do believe that Infinite Tavern is a crit award winning podcast. But if Amaan and Anurag are doing any other
Yeah.
projects, consider them for a crit award as well. Nominate their peers, nominate any other amazing TTRPGs and communities from India as well. If there's multiple categories, if you could consider EUphoria for some of those, that'd be really swell and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
and until the next episode, may all your roles be great.